Awareness is only the basic thing that we cannot, the awareness is the cause of everything. From awareness alone, the consciousness comes. And the consciousness is only part. The awareness is the total. The awareness is Atman, the awareness is the Brahman. So everything is the, but we cannot aware of the awareness. That is the whole. Awareness is whole, and from that the consciousness comes. So we can feel only the consciousness.
Can we say the awareness equal to Manonasa state?
Manona, we cannot, Manonasa is related to the consciousness.
Okay.
We cannot have any definition, any dealings with the awareness. We can infer something may be there, we can like this, we can say like this. For example, when we see some smoke, naturally there must be some fire behind the smoke. To that extent, but it's a reliable inference. That to that extent we can infer awareness may be there behind the consciousness. But everything is what we are dealing is only consciousness. Enlightenment, liberation, everything is related to the consciousness, not related to awareness.
One question: where the thought originates? Means some of the masters have asking to meditate on the source of the thought, from where it is coming.
So there is a yoga process. When you have to select something. So we have select some point to focus. Further they ask the thing like that. Otherwise you need not where from it comes like that. You need not examine like that. That comes, we can simply say it comes from our mind, comes from our brain. That is enough. You need not worry about why, you need not expect any more thing from that.
So only after the thought comes, how to handle it is in our hands.
Yeah.
That is the thing which we have in our hands.
Whenever the thought comes, then only we recognize thought. Before the arrival of thought, we know what is the reason for thought, where from it comes. We can simply guess it comes from our mind, comes from our brain. That alone we can totally say like this. But at the same time, we can say only because of some focusing of attention. That means if you watch the thought and if you watch the gap between thoughts, so that you can focus your attention. So as a focusing point in the yogic process, you may take like this.
Swamiji, with the when you go from having a thought, which is unchosen, to thinking, some thoughts are very powerful or create a strong reaction. With grief, for example, that can go on for years, and I would fear the thought coming in because I knew that would be 2 or 3 hours gone on thinking every day for 2 years. And the fear would make the situation worse. So if you are caught in that loop where you're thinking, it makes it stronger, more thinking makes it stronger. If you are thinking, how do you allow that to be in the flow? You just say, oh, I'm thinking about it. And you recognize that. Even if it continues, that feels like something to do where I've got to keep myself separate from thinking. The only alternative is to think. So in that situation, if you are thinking, do we not need to do something in that case?
So here, even though we take in the form, we take our thought into thinking, we convert our thought into thinking, what will happen? For example, the same thing, for example, the material object. For example, we take the example of the material object again. I place the recorder here. And if we place the recorder here, it will be there forever. Unless it was taken by somebody else. So some physical action is necessary for the removal of this recorder from here. Otherwise it will be there always. But it is not the case if it is related to the psychological world. In the psychological world, whether it is created unconscious, whether it is happened unconsciously as thought, or we are creating the thought through our thinking. So the result is thought. So the created, something happens unconsciously. So something happens through your creation, through conscious creation, just like thinking. So your thinking also, you are creating some thought. But some thought happens unconsciously. So both are thoughts. Even though you are creating some thought through conscious effort through your thinking, through thinking also you are creating some thoughts. Even though you are creating, it also disappears. But here, when you are creating thoughts, you are in a position to create more and more. So that is the problem.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
But here, when you take everything as thought itself, and you are not taking any responsibility, positively or negatively, then you are not in a position to deal with anything. So you do not take any responsibility on your hand. So here, something may happen against your will, against your interest. But when you select to safeguard yourself, then you consciously take some stand, take some responsibility. So taking no responsibility alone is the salvation. So taking the responsibility is the problem. Here also, doing the conscious thinking also, you are taking some responsibility. Without your interest, anyhow you are taking some responsibility to create something. Even though it may be the negative feeling, you are doing it. So you are creating some responsibility. But here also, when you want to be free from that, you are consciously taking another responsibility. So the wrong thing and right thing is happening only through taking some responsibility. So here, when we understand no responsibility is needed for freedom, that means freedom from responsibility is the freedom.
So just to be clear, when I become aware that I am already taking responsibility and thinking.
So here, when you seek the shelter of awareness, that means it is a yogic process. When you are aware of something happening, for example, when you are aware of something, naturally you may have some settlement within yourself. Some time being, you may be all right from the problem itself. It is a yogic process. In yogic process, the meditation process, you may observe the pain of yourself. The observing the pain itself reduce the pain itself. Some possibilities may be there.
No, I don't mean a yogic process.
Yeah,
it's more, I suddenly realize, oh, I'm thinking about this. I've taken responsibility. Do I just let it continue?
So here,
how do I not take responsibility?
So here you have to accept your failure. The intellect has to accept its failure in the psychological world. So as early as possible, we have to accept our failure. But we should not expect any success there. The expecting success alone is the problem.
I have.
But in the external world, the success must be the goal. But in the psychological world, the failure alone must be the goal.
I have a lot of experience in that. I'll just and I want to just check in with you. Before I said that I feel I've been free from suffering for 20 years, and I still believe that. And probably 7 or 8 nights out of 10, I'm either dreaming or thinking probably 80% of the time I'm in bed. And dreaming's fine, I can't do anything about that. And the thoughts that I think are very, I mean, if I'm in a very tight situation, that's what will occupy my thoughts. But like last night, have I switched the gas off? Have I done the electricity? What do I need to buy tomorrow? Have I washed this? They're the kind of thoughts that are just constantly catching me, not just passing. Have I done the thing? Oh yes, I must do that. And I start thinking. But the reason, and what's happened over the years is I've just let it happen. You know, if I don't, I'm in a situation where I don't have to get up and go to work, that helps. Because I don't get a lot of sleep. But I just let it keep happening. I just have accepted somewhere in me that there's nothing I can do about that. You know, I don't want to take pills, I don't want to take drugs, I don't want to do meditation, I'm incredibly lazy. I don't want to sit up and I just lie there and the thoughts go through and I get attached to them and I think about them for several minutes. Then I notice that I've been thinking about them for several minutes. Oh, and another hour's gone, I'll look at the clock, it's 2 o'clock, then it's 3 o'clock, then it's... Is that... Do you feel comfortable with what I'm saying? I mean, it works for me, but does that sit in alignment with what you're teaching? My question.
I'm able to follow the exact
His question is, he goes to bed at night and thoughts start coming. Did I switch off the gas? Did I put off the electricity? And with that, he gets involved with the thought. Thinking starts. And anxiety comes with it. So he's not able to sleep. Basically, he gets involved with the thought and sleep does not come. So he looks, it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Some thought or the other is coming continuously, occupying him, grabbing him, and then the next one will come, and the next one will come. He's not able to sleep. So how does he address this issue?
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm okay with that.
He's okay with that.
Yeah.
So here, so whenever the first thought comes, when you take the thought in your hand, then you are traveling with the thought. So that means you convert the thought into thinking.
Yeah.
So thinking is necessary if it is related to the external world. So you can make use of the thought. But at the same time, you should not think to clear, keep you without any thought. That you need not convert the thinking, that thinking I should not have any thought, that it is against you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can make use of the thought. So the thought comes to remind you whether you put off the stove or anything. So sometimes it may help you. So you can use the thought for, if it is external use, you can make use of it. But if you are unnecessarily coming like this, you need not look at that. You have to give total freedom. It may come like this and you have no business to heed your attention to that, then it will go away very soon. But afterwards, if you take sometimes and you will create some, because you repeatedly thinking like that or anything, then you will the sleeping mood will be out. You will go out of the sleeping mood. So then afterwards, then you will have the thought, no, sleep is coming. I am without sleep. This thought will go away. But even this thought is also coming. You need not worry about that thought also. Yeah. So whatever the thought, we have to be without any making it into thinking. So if we keep the total thought as we take its own course, if it comes on its own, it will disappear on its own. So we should not take any part in that.
Ayya give an example. Means we are walking in that field, in the path. The thought will come, there may be a snake will be there, I will put my leg on the snake. The thought is helpful. So you have a torch in your bag, you open the bag, you take the torch and with the torch you are walking. Still the thought is coming. If the snake comes, what you will do? If the snake comes, what you will do? The first thought came as help to take the torch out. Subsequent thoughts, we can simply ignore it. What do we do with that? We can't convert. We have already converted the thought to a thinking and we have taken the torch in our hand. Again, subsequent thought, you can just ignore it. Yes, it's coming. It makes us to help us to be more aware of each step we put. Further, at least we can use those thoughts, whichever is coming.
Yeah, but the thinking is also can happen subconsciously. Like you described the woman that her child dies, she cannot help by thinking that about this, like you said. So it happens subconsciously. It's not she's trying to think about it. It just happens. So, and she can do it probably for all of her life, still thinking about the death of her child.
So here, the thought comes naturally, but when we want to be free from thought, then only they came to me. They are suffering from the thought. So then only they came to me. I want to be free from the thought. But they have the thought at the same one time they justify the thought, the other time they want to be free from thought. They take the both steps. So then only thereby they convert the thought into thinking. If they allow the thought means there will be no question about the thought. So it is happening. If you take the thought as a happening, then we are not converting the thought into thinking. When it is purely thought, naturally it will go away. So whenever we take in the state of thinking, when our conscious participation is there, the conscious participation strengthens the thought. Otherwise the thought will be, even though the thought may be repeated one, in the course of time it will be very low and in one time it will be disappear totally. But very rarely it may come.
So it sounds like an advanced stage.
Sounds like?
It sounds like somebody in an advanced stage can do this.
Advanced stage.
Advanced stage?
Only someone in an advanced stage can do it.
Yeah, because, for example, with the mother with her child, to say it's just thoughts coming to my head, it sounds very advanced.
Adverse.
Master, like
Advanced, not advanced. Only someone who is very advanced can say, oh, I've lost my child, that's another thought. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
To treat it like that
Yeah,
is an advanced state. It's not easy to do it.
How can she not think about it? She should be some kind of really high level to say it's just a thought. My child has died.
No, I am not, this is also a kind of thinking. So I should not have the thought, it is also a thinking. So I must
just not to have not thought, but not to interfere, not to want to be free from the thought and not to choose it. Like you said, not to take any stand.
So here, what I am trying to say is that accept the sorrow, accept the thought, because the thought creates sorrow. I am not that you should not be without sorrow. It is natural. We take it as a natural one. When we take it as a natural, then there is no part of ourselves to deal with it. So our dealing, there should not be our dealing. It must be natural. When it is natural, the sorrow is natural, the thought is natural, then it will very soon it will go away. So whenever we put something, this must be like that, this must not be like that, then only we convert the thought into thinking.
So it is not...
When we attach any philosophy like this, it is also a kind of thinking. So no philosophy is necessary. This is a fact. The sorrow is a fact, the thought is a fact. We have to accept the fact as fact.
But the way you said it sounds like it's not personal. Like the thought, it's not the pain.
It's not personal.
It's not personal.
Not
Personal.
personal. Yes.
The thought isn't personal, the pains aren't personal. They're not
Personal.
personal.
But it is personal. It is personal, but it disappears. Even though it is personal, it comes and disappears. So that is the nature of everything.
because you spoke about the me. So somebody says like, it happened to me. My child has died, it happened to me. So it becomes personal.
Not right,
Personal sorrow, personal thoughts, personal pain. But when you say it's like when you don't want to be free, when you don't want to be free from it and you don't want to choose it, to be guilty, then it sounds like it's not personal.
You just said it's personal.
Yeah, but still it sounds to me like it's not personal. Like it happens to the person.
No, you're saying it's grief. If one is in grief, to be in grief and to allow the grief, to give freedom to the grieving process. He's not saying it's, yeah.
So actually everything gets released on itself. We have no necessity for any freedom. We need not create freedom. We need not create relief. So all pain get and release itself. So that is a natural thing. So whenever we put our hand in the form of anything, even to get freedom from pain itself, is the encouraging element of the pain. So here, if you attach any philosophy, it by itself we are giving some strength to the problem.
But in reality, most people that are not doing this kind of things, just ordinary people, and they lost their child or their husband or their wife, they with this probably most of their life, if not all of their life.
Yeah.
But they would not be bothered about this inquiry, so it's a theoretical question which does not apply to their case.
But with this understanding, it will give a relief. Only this understanding will give a relief. That I is no need to hold it, is naturally it is flowing.
Because he said the woman came to him and it's,
So Ayya, what did you say to that woman?
What happened?
In that example, to the woman with the grief?
So here,
what was your advice? What did you actually tell her?
So here, the thought, we should not take the thought as problem. When you take the thought as problem, we convert the thought into thinking. The conversion of thinking is alone is the problem. So each and every moment, we are, even though we are thinking, even though we are thought, we think because of our justification, I have to, the sorrow is correct. Because as a parent, this must be, the parent must be in sorrow. So we justify the justification and criticism in what way? If you criticize your thought or appreciate your thought in both ways, thereby you are strengthened the thought by way of thinking. So we have no action. We have to take it as a natural one. So here we have to understand no work is there. The main thing is that we should not have any work there. That is the understanding here.
I think the root, what I think both people are saying is that if I hear a story of somebody who's suffered a great loss, mother loses her child, or a husband loses a wife, or a brother loses a sister, there is empathy. I feel it in my heart. I feel that pain in my heart. So I think that's where the question is coming from, which is, yes, I can say all this. I can say allow. I think grief is natural, but that pain is an overwhelming pain. It is a massive pain. To the extent, as he said, as Will was saying, I fear the thought that it will come again. It has come, and it comes 2 hours, 3 hours goes. After 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months, the pain is still there, the thought is still there, and I now have fear that this thought will come. So I'm functioning normally. At 10 o'clock I go to work, and at 12 o'clock something reminds me of the grief, and then the grief comes back like a wave. So how does one, yes, I understand, theoretically I understand this is a thought I shouldn't involve. But how does one overcome a grief of this kind, of this magnitude? How does one accept it? How does one, you can't accept it, your body is not accepting it. The body is going on saying, but why? How can this happen? How could I lose my child? It's terrible. And it goes on, it doesn't stop. How does one accept pain of this magnitude?
So here, our advice is that give total freedom to the grief, give total freedom to your sorrow, total freedom to your thought, that alone.
But sometimes I think grief of that kind, you may think you're going mad. I think somebody's mind may break.
But we think like that. That is our thinking. But that is not real. We have to test it. For example, one case, for example, one lady, he has the pain, not this kind of, some another kind. She had some love affair with one person, and he assured that he will marry her, but instead of marrying her, he married some other person. So that is why he feels some sorrow, because he feels cheated. But at the same time, she has no legal remedy. If they are already married, the second marriage we can be rectified through legal proceedings. That is, he had no legal status. So just he had love affair, that alone is he had. And she was cheated and she felt, I am unable to do anything. I was in still complete agony. I am totally upset. I am terribly in agony state. What I have to do? She asked me. So I simply told me, whoever in that position like you will have the same feeling like you. Don't take it as a strange one, as if you are the special person, you are facing the problem. Whoever you are in the same position, this fear, this agony will come to you like this. So here, if you have any legal position, legal status to deal with your the person who has cheated you, then you can go, you can think like that. But there is no necessity to think for anything, to take action. But there is no necessity for your thinking. So you have to totally, wholeheartedly accept your pain. So whoever be in that position, they will be like this. So I don't know how he accepted my words, but he was in the terrible state. But the next day morning he phoned me, today I am in bliss consciousness. I don't know why the bliss consciousness came to me. Yesterday I was terribly in the sorrow, but today morning I am in the bliss consciousness. I am very happy. I don't know why this happiness comes to me. But I simply told, because you are wholeheartedly accept your grief, the next moment you will be free from that, then the other side you will be facing. But you don't mind, as you don't mind your sorrow, don't mind your bliss consciousness. So in the simpler case, one case in Chennai, the similar case just like the case of the death of the child. This is a mother and the boy, in the older case also, 1.5 years child, but this case is a grown-up person. His boy, his son is a grown-up person. The grown-up person died, and the mother has to, but he, after later time, he consulted one of my partners of the workers, that he has got relief from the sorrow of the death of his son. And the person who is got the message, we are running some magazine and written the same. And the mother got relief from the grief of the death of the son within 1 week, even though it is very terrible. She got relief within 1 week, even though it is very because it is a very terrible instant. And even the instant is very terrible. He got the relief only because of this kind of idea. She got relief very soon. So this was published in our magazine, and the mother read the magazine, and she again ringed the person who is in charge of the magazine. I have not relieved the relief from 1 week. I have actually relieved within 1 hour. But that is the real fact. I have relieved the problem within 1 hour, and you have exaggerated as if relieved from within 1 week. that is the case. So let us assemble in the evening, and that is the last session. 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.